My Russian vodka story. Okay, so when I was 17, I went to Russia for the first time, or for the only time. Actually went to Estonia, and then I spent some of the time in Russia. I was in Russia and Estonia for a summer, like a month or two, maybe. Um, and the story is that the reason I went is because I became friends with an exchange student, and there's more to this story as well. But I became friends with an exchange student that lived near me, and he was from Estonia, lived in Tallinn, but his family was Russian. And we went to. He was like, his name's Dimitri, and he was just like, "You're gonna come back to, you're gonna come to Estonia and Russia with me." I was like, "All right." All right. This is like I didn't have any like experience like idea of traveling or anything like that. This was like totally out of nowhere for me. So I was like, okay, we're gonna do this thing. So I ended up going to Russia with him and his father, and we took this train that took like multiple days to go all the way down from Tallinn, which is like very northwestern of Russia. It's northwest of Russia, connected. It's not a border country. Um, and then we took a train all the way down to the Russian border, right next to Georgia, the country. And this is like the way it was explained to me was that it was during Soviet times, kind of like Russia's Florida. Like old people would like build retirement homes down there. But when the Soviet Union fell apart, they just couldn't afford to keep building the houses. So there's all these like half-built, like big houses down in this area, and I guess it's like fairly conservative. So a lot of the people that live there are like kind of like hardcore like the communists, like straight up like big into Lenin and big into the communist system and stuff, and they're pissed off about the fact that the economy crumbled and then they all lost their money and they were building all these houses and they couldn't retire and blah blah blah. But my friend Dimitri's grandparents had finished building their house before everything fell apart, so they actually had a house down there and they lived down there. And there were some other people in the community, of course, that were similar age groups that lived there as well. And we went down there to spend time with his grandparents. And like I'm an American like boy, like I'm like 17, right? I'm just like some dude. I don't really know what I'm getting into or anything. But his grandparents were very nice to me. They lived in, like I said, like this house that they had built it's a neighborhood, but it's not like a lot of houses in the neighborhood. And the house had like a backyard area that had like vines and stuff for growing grapes and stuff over it, and they had like lighting back there. It was really nice. It was like a really nice little area, and all their friends, all these older people would come from around the neighborhood on a couple nights a week, and they would have like dinner together. People would just bring food and eat together, right? And of course they would drink. And I had never drank alcohol in my life up to this point, but all these old communists are pretty stoked about the idea of like getting the American drunk. So they start giving me vodka, and it's like socially awkward to say no. You know what I mean? Like part of me was like, kind of like, okay, this is the time and place to start drinking. But it was like this is like super duper strong like moonshine style vodka that these old dudes had made like in their houses or whatever in their garages. So it's like really really strong, and like they just keep filling the glass up and I keep drinking. I got really really drunk. I mean, it didn't take much. And sitting around this table, and they're all hardly anybody can speak English. My friend can speak some English, and his dad can speak some English, and basically nobody else around me speaks any English at all. But my friend was like, eventually, like he was just like, we gotta go. Like I think he saw that I was gonna die, and he was getting tired of listening to them. Like they're sitting around with this vodka and stuff, like singing songs about how great Russia, like the USSR was, and like these like songs about how great Lenin is. And my friend just can't deal with it. Like he doesn't have the same like political ideology as these old people do. even at 17. And he was like, "We got to get out of here." So we just went on a walk away from the area or whatever. And I got sick from like bad food or water or just like that kind of problem, like kind of the next day. So I was like hungover, and I was also sick from like bacterial adjustment stuff. So it was pretty terrible, and it was the middle of summer, and like I said, it's basically like there, Florida. It was hot and humid, and I was just in this room being sick by myself on the other side of the planet. There's no internet or anything. So that's kind of why I didn't drink until we moved to Japan. Like I really didn't. I had a little bit of alcohol here and there between my point of 17 and the point of 30 when I moved here, but I didn't really drink. It's turned me off to the whole thing. I don't think I blacked out. I just was not. It was just not okay. To be honest with you, like on retrospect, like at the time I was like whatever. On retrospect, I think what they did was kind of shitty. Like, I don't know, just don't peer pressure children into drinking. Like, I don't know, it just seems obvious, but like at the time, I don't know, you're in Russia, whatever. So I kind of lie when I say that I didn't drink alcohol at all, because I did drink alcohol one more time on that same trip. After we were in southern Russia, my friend Dimitri's, he had a aunt who lived in St. Petersburg, which is in like northern Russia, a long way away from where we were at, in the southern part of the country. And so we took a train and we went up there. I mean, again, it took like multiple days on this train. It's like it's a long way, and the train system was not the worst in the world, but it's not like you're riding on the Shinkansen. And we went up, and his aunt was living with her boyfriend, but she had an apartment that was like just not being used. So she was like, "Yeah, you can just stay in my spare apartment." And we were like 17. She was like probably in her late 20s, I guess. Her apartment was like a flat share, basically. She had her own room, but then the kitchen and the bathroom area was shared with 3 other people. And she didn't have any food, and she had like a little mini fridge in her room. But she didn't have any food or any drink, and you couldn't drink at the time, or I was told, like, we can't drink the tap. And so all she had in her room was wine. So we were just like, all right. So again, we're like 17 years old, and we're alone at this point. We didn't have any adults with us. And so he was just like, we're cracking into this wine. So we cracked into this wine, and we got pretty drunk on the wine, but like controllably drunk. And I think we, like, between the two of us, we drank 2 bottles. So we each drank like a bottle of wine, which again, like if you don't drink at all and you're skinny and you're 17, like that's quite a lot of alcohol. And we drank it, just like right out of the bottle. And we went and wandered around the streets of St. Petersburg, like in the middle of the night. And I was wearing a shirt that was like, it was like a picture of Lenin, but it was like the McDonald's logo. It had his face like superimposed over it, and it said McLennan's. I bought it from like a street vendor in Moscow when we were there very briefly. And in Russia at the time, there's like, I've heard other people tell stories that are similar to this, so I know that this is like not super unique, but there's these packs of children, like homeless children, that just like live on the streets, and they're like 9, 10 years old, and they're like kind of like gangs. And they're kind of dangerous, like they do pickpocket stuff, and like violently dangerous. But there's just like these packs of children just like going around. And we went out and like in the middle of the night drunk, and there's all so these kids, and they're like yelling at my shirt. And they're like, McLennan, McLennan, McLennan. There's in a bunch of shit in Japanese, in Russian that like I can't understand. And my friend Dimitri is like, you can't wear that shirt outside anymore. Like he was like worried about what was going on, but nothing happened. So we're just like wandering around drunk, and while we're out there, there are like there are like packs of people that are like other drunk people, like these drunk men and stuff, and they're just drunk and they're on the streets, and they're kind of behaving inappropriately, and the police are driving around with this big truck, and they're just like collecting drunk people and putting them in this truck and just taking them to like drunk tank basically. And me and Dimitri are out and we're drunk and like, but we're like aware of this enough, and we're not like getting in fist fights. We're not being rambunctious like these other people were like, you know, yelling at each other and stuff. I mean, everybody in Russia is yelling at all times from what I remember, but we, you know, we're just chilling. But like, I mean, you're kind of like, shit, am I gonna, am I about to go to Russian jail as a 17-year-old? They're gonna put me in the so like we're kind of like, I don't know if this is a good idea, and he's not stoked about going to Russian jail either because he's Russian but he lives in Estonia, and he's just like, this is not okay, so we got to really play it cool. So we are, it's late at night in Russia, so it's like a reasonable hour on the East Coast in the United States, and this is in 1997 where there's no internet. Like I couldn't, my friends and stuff didn't even have email really. Maybe somebody had email. I think my dad had email and stuff, but I never used it. Like, so the only way you could communicate is you could send a letter or you could call, but calling an international phone number like is not a simple process when you're 17 years old. It's 1997. You can't like Google how to do it, and you're at a payphone in St. Petersburg. Like, but I've got this calling card, this international calling card thing, and I don't remember where I got it. I think maybe my mom gave it to me before they went or something. I don't remember exactly how it worked, but like it's the calling card, if I recall, is all in English, but the payphone and all the instructions are all in Russian. And like I said, my friend spoke English, but like not great English at the time. Like it was okay, but it wasn't like amazing English. And we're drunk, of course. Like I said, we're at this payphone and we're trying to call my girlfriend at the time, just to say what up. I'm drunk in St. Petersburg, right? And we're trying to use all this shit, and we can't figure out what's going on. And we're on kind of like a main drag through St. Petersburg, and behind us is all these prostitutes, like on the street. And I mean, it's just like the whole thing is just a scene. There's all these children yelling at my shirt, and there's drunk tanks and people yelling at each other, and there's prostitutes on the road, and we're drunk on wine, and we're 17. The whole scene is just completely crazy now thinking about it. And there's all these prostitutes on the street in the back, and there's like, you know, like a lot. There's like quite a few of them. And this limo pulls up and just like tells all of them to get in the limo, and the whole group of prostitutes gets in this limousine and drives away. And we're like losing our minds at this point, like the whole thing, the ridiculousness of this whole situation. Even my Russian friend is like, dude, this is over the top. And that was the last time that I drank, basically, like was drunk until probably Katie and I lived in Russia in Kumagaya. And that's my story about drinking. So yeah, I didn't, like, between the ages of 17 and 30, like I feel like the vodka with the old dudes, and then the situation in St. Petersburg, I was like, I'm out. Like, that's enough. I'm good. I don't need this anymore. So yeah, that's my whole story. I think I've told that story. I mean, that was a long time ago. It was 1997. I feel like sometimes I wonder if I have messed up some of the details or crossed some of the wires. But that's basically how it goes. And I worry about that because I know at some point I'll probably tell the story again. And maybe I'll fumble up some of the details. People will be like, "Aha! You said this thing wrong," but it was like 1997. But anyway, yeah, that was the basic gist.